on my door. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Tell us what you need for your business with us. Sound good? All right, so that's a little bit of what's coming soon. There's more coming, and the more you tell us, the more we'll work on it in play. Thank you.
Wow. Lockie's up here. What did you hear in that you just love, that you're excited about? Carol.
A couple of things, the website, definitely, and the training.
Which piece of it?
Which piece of it, the ongoing training.
Okay. The serious stuff.
Because there's, like you said, there's a ton of stuff that's available, but you can't take away every single day. You can't run, and you need to make sure that it's what you need.
Right.
And it's a curriculum behind it, so there's a plan.
Right.
Right. What else? Yeah.
I like the doing it live, having the agents sit there
With the
and
lead
stuff
stuff.
and listen and
Brilliant.
whatever, and then breaking down the stats.
What else? Yep.
I like the more coaching before maps.
Yeah. We were at the regional event together where they had a maps coach and a regional director standing at the front of the room, basically acknowledging and giving us permission to do that. And that was an aha for both of us, because I think we have always been sensitive to stepping on maps' toes. You know, we get you ready, push you out, and then there's oftentimes a real gap between I'm a capper, but I'm not ready to spend $1,000 a month and go to Make Camp and pay reunion, and maybe I'd like to have a little more minimum. Maybe I'd like to make $100,000. And so I'm glad to hear that, and we're glad to implement that.
Did Janice do that?
You know, Janice has done that, yes, on some level.
Yes, and then Matt stole her from us because she's so amazing. She's in the back of the room.
Oh.
But even Janice has always had a plan with exit strategy on an agent. You know, how do I push
I
this
get it.
person into maps?
Right. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, none of this is to say that we haven't been doing training and coaching and engagement. We have, and they're amazing. Our opportunity now is to make them strong.
What else? Good. Well, listen, from the bottom of our hearts, like, we're doing this because we care about you. The goal is to be the best market center in the world, and that's the vision. And we can't do it without helping you make a better life. So, life worth living, that's the mission, that's the vision, that's the value. And so, engage, plug in. Today is your chance. She's sending out the survey. If you'd like to be a part of this, we're doing something revolutionary that's going to change international, by the way. Her 5-year vision is to be director of productivity for international.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So we're
So we're gonna
rewriting
get
the
you right
script
here first.
without permission. You know, here's the crosswalk. We're just going just outside of it, right? Yeah. And we do that.
Yep. Thank you.
Good. It's exciting.
I look forward to feedback from you guys. Please not.
Does anybody in the room consider themselves a runner? Okay, you're a runner. I hate running. You know how I realized I hated running? I ran the Peachtree the first time. And I finished it, I was running it fast, and I was going up Cardiac Hill, and I was getting slower and slower. And my dad's a big walker, and when he passed me, I realized, you know what, running just isn't for me. I'm not wired for it, I don't enjoy it. Well, I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again, the Peachtree I'm talking about. And then I just decided, I'm not made for this. Then a friend of mine challenged me to run a half marathon, and I did that. And I actually did about 6 of those, and it's still miserable for me. I just didn't enjoy it. I was doing it more about the goal than I was about the running. And then I did 1 marathon, and it was the worst 6 months of my life. I'm not even kidding. Because you would go and run for 4.5 hours. Now, I did enjoy the thinking time. I did enjoy the time away from the hustle and bustle and the thoughts of, okay, I'm on the Silver Trail, I'm enjoying this, and God's really speaking to me, and I'm listening to worship music, or I'm listening to a book. I enjoyed that piece of it. But man, when I finished that marathon, I said, you know what, I'm not ever doing a race again. I don't believe I have. That was 2008. I've done some charity events, but I just don't enjoy it. And I think you have to be wired to really enjoy running. We're built for it or made for it. And then I met Sandy Geisel. Probably, let's see, what year did I meet you? 2010? 2010. Sandy calls me one day. She's a KW agent, and she's moving market centers, and she's interviewing a few market centers. And we got really lucky and got her in the Ross group. And it was literally, I mean, it was a real victory for us. You remember. And Josh Wilson came over with her, and they were in the former team. And they had been there about a week, and I come in on a Monday morning, and I said, hey, Sandy, how you doing? I high-fived her. I said, what'd you do this weekend? She said, well, last night I ran 40 miles.
Yeah.
She goes, you know, a friend of mine just turned 40, and he called me last night about 9 p.m. and said, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. And he goes, well, do you want to, I'm going to run 40 miles for my birthday tonight. Do you want to come and do it? And she did. And what they would do is they would run a 10-mile loop back. You remember telling me the story? They would run a 10-mile loop, come back to his house, and get some water or whatever, go do a 10-mile loop, and they do
I
that.
think she said a beer.
No,
But so anyway, they did 40 miles and they were done. And this was like, I mean, I'm talking about like 8:30 in the morning. I'm at the market center, and so was she. She just ran 40 miles. I think it took me a week to recover after I did that. Literally, I'm not kidding. And so Sandy has been chasing this goal of hers now since 2010. Badwater?
Yeah.
Or longer.
It's kind of started in
Oh,
the
three.
seed was in my head in
So she's a runner, she's a coach, she's a very successful real estate agent. In the downturn in the market, she was the short sale specialist for KW. Before any of us knew what a short sale was, by the way, she was doing it and dominating. And I just love her, and I'm really proud of her. And I wanted to take a moment today and celebrate the fact that she accomplished a goal, but then also have some takeaways. Hey, what's it take to run 143 miles in 2-3 days? Come on up, Sandy. Let's welcome her. And I asked her if she would. You want to sit here or there? Okay, you sit there. This is your water. May I?
Hydrate.
May I show them the pictures?
Sure.
Okay.
They're not attractive.
So let me show you this.
I wanted to say too, when we met in 2010 and I did the short sales, running is what helped me. I had done a few marathons. I think actually I had done a 100-miler. But during the crash, I had to get out of debt bad. I was ready to wonder if I could go homeless with a dog. And so I started digging deep and learning short sales. And what kept me going, it's like, has anyone here run a marathon? It was like running a marathon that you hit the wall by mile 19 or 20.
Yes.
And at that point, I was like, oh my God, I only got 6 more miles to go. And then a month later, it's like, I got 2 more miles to go. Then I'd be close to the finish line. It's like they moved the finish line. But I kept plugging along because I knew that, like in marathon, you just got to put 1 foot forward.
Yeah.
And that helped me during the crash. And I turned my business and I was thriving. I'm #1 agent in the office and paid off all my debt.
So I want to walk us through this. So here we are at the Badwater Basin. This is the start, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How hot is it right there?
It was 126 degrees. You have to do this event during July or August. It's you always get somebody crazy in the world that wants to do something challenged. So in the 80s, a guy said, I'm going to go from the lowest point in the U.S. to the highest point in the continental U.S., which is the top of Whitney at 14,500 feet or so. And on top of that, you have to do it in the summer. And you have to start in the morning, so you got daylight all day.
And you have to wear a trash bag. Right.
Yeah.
All right, so walk us through this. Here's the map of it.
So coming up here, you started at Badwater, you had to go up 17 miles. Through all this, up to...
So start here, right?
Yeah. So right here, through maybe up close to Lone Pine, it's all desert. And so it was at night it dropped down to a cool like 97 degrees.
Cool 97.
Yeah, so there's only, through all that, there's only Furnace Creek, Stovepipe Wells, Panamint, there would be maybe one store, and that's it. So I had to rely on a team of 5 people helped me, and they had 2 cars. They would leapfrog, so I would run, and every mile I would see my car, because you don't know how much water you need in a mile. I ended up, my goal was to drink about 25 ounces of water an hour. And so they would be ahead. So I never felt alone, because you're out in the desert and people have died from the inside out burning. And so I would probably, my goal was 3.5 miles an hour. So it wasn't a fast run by no means, but I would take advantage of when there was a little bit of shade. In the first 2 hours, there was a mountain, so there was a tiny bit of shade, and I just ran. They were like, slow down. It's like, now I feel good.
I just want to point out the obvious. This picture is called Death Valley. Yeah.
All the names on the course are like Devil's Golf Course, Devil's View.
So the hottest, driest, lowest. What's that mean?
So it's the hottest place in the world ever. The record was 134. Driest, it's desert. There's nothing that can survive out there except I saw a few birds and I saw a dead coyote. That's it. And then the lowest, it's minus 282 below sea level.
How many of you have ever felt, had an obstacle or a challenge in your life, maybe even a tragedy that you faced? Raise your hand. Okay. 90% of your success is mindset. 90% of your success is mindset. So 10% is skill. So I want you to make the correlation between this race, this experience, and we're going to dig into mindset and the training piece. You know, how does that relate to your life and the health of your business and what it takes? I mean, come on, 143 miles, and we're stressing over a bold 100. Right? I mean, you start putting it in context and you go, huh, maybe it is doable. All right, what is this?
That was just the record heat, or the heat for the week. I had a cold spell the week before I started, so it was down to 111, but I got back in the 120s.
Main road is open.
How long did it take you to do this?
53 hours to get, so the original race that one guy said ran up to the top 146 miles, but the race today is, there's a race once a year, only 99 people are invited, which I was invited 3 years ago, failed miserably by mile 35. And so the 135 is to the portal of Mount Whitney. But then you got us overachievers that want to go beyond that and hit the highest peak. So again, we just have to do it in July or August.
There's a lesson in that. So I did it, failed miserably.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk. We're going to hold that. Yep, help me remember that. That's great. That's great. Furnace Creek, elevation 190. Here you are. Who are you with here?
Actually, the one in the middle, he's the one that I ran the 40 miles with for his birthday. And so he ran about 30 with me in the desert, and he's totally out of shape now, he thinks. But we had a closing. I closed on his house on Wednesday, flew out Thursday, flew back Thursday, red eye, and had his closing on the by of his house at 4 o'clock.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that worked.
The red eye alone is enough to recover from.
Yeah.
Hey, what is a race to you?
What is a race?
Like people go to Camp Canyon. What did you told me this before.
Vacation is
This is your vacation.
Yeah, this is absolutely, the whole experience was incredible, and I think a lot of it was because of seeing the sights, but having the 5 crew with me. It was such a bonding experience.
Wow. Here's your crew. They're in long sleeves.
I bought them all shirts that are sun shirts. They reflect, and it has BW 146 on it for Badwater 146.
Got it.
Let's see, don't we have a nurse in there?
Yeah, so my client, he's a registered nurse, and then his girlfriend, the one on the right here, she's also a nurse. She brought all these IVs and stuff, but you're not allowed to take IVs during the event or you're disqualified.
Only
So-
afterwards?
Yes, it was just a backup emergency.
God.
This
That
was,
a comfort to know that.
This is you taking
Yeah.
a 20-minute rest, right?
yeah. That was actually after the 135 that I just laid down. You always put your feet up because you start swelling so much.
So are you running in hiking shoes?
Those are my trail running shoes, and I just wear those all the time. If I ran Peachtree, I'd wear those.
Gives you an idea of the condition. That looks like you're going uphill.
Just looks awful.
Are you going uphill? Are you going uphill right there? It's
There was-
elevated.
My first hill was 17 miles,
Her first hill was 17 miles.
so it was just,
Cardiac Hill's like 0.2 miles. That's the one I struggled up, by the way. But it's on mile 4, Jorge. Don't you laugh at me.
but to back up too, like John said, he hated running. I hated running 22 years ago, and I went through a life change. Some friends invited me to a 5K, and I'm like, no way, I hate it, So I snuck around for 2 weeks before, when it was dark, before the sun came up in my neighborhood, and I thought, okay, I'll run a mile, see if I can do it. And I ran the 5K in 2 weeks, and I was like, thrilled I could do it. I only walked twice, and so I got hooked for the physical part, but the social part, because I needed to get out and started meeting
How long
friends.
ago was that?
95.
Okay.
Sandy, just so you know, like Ty lead Jen into running, Sandy basically started a running club
Mhm.
that she taught and coach. She would train people, she would coach people, but she organized meeting groups that would have 100 people at a time. So where does the majority of your business come from?
So there's a lot of benefits that I've been fortunate with my running, whether it's running or a hobby. But one of them is that, like I said earlier, one's just making it through the crash. The other is my network is incredible. And probably until this year, I'm taking coaching, and I finally start lead generating this year. And but up until then, it's been probably close to 90% runners, my clients.
But I don't want you, don't miss this. That's a real strategy. If you enjoy golf, make golf lead gen.
Absolutely. You just talk.
If you enjoy football, college football, make college football lead gen. Figure it out. Like, what do I enjoy that I enjoy doing, and then have a party. The running club is a part. When we think lead gen, you say cold call expires, and everybody goes, ooh, I don't know what to say. I don't like that. Well, duh. What do you enjoy? And I love that you've done that and been very successful with it.
Yeah, and everybody relates. All the runners relate me as a real estate agent, and you guys relate me as the crazy runner. So.
Well, my coach calls them kooks, and he's a kook, by the way. And
Good,
that's a
meet
compliment.
him.
Yeah.
I like him. That's just our crew at the end.
All right. So I want to get to some of the meat of this and learn some lessons
So
here.
did you cancel
Have you
that?
found that?
Look at it. This is funny. Yeah, this is good right here. The runner on the right is a normal mortal. The runner on the left is Sandy. They both just completed the same climb. Sandy is smiling. The other runner is not. Sandy is a badass. Yes. We all need to be more like Sandy.
They found that on Facebook.
Is he throwing up right there? I think he is.
No, he's a good runner that I'm trying to get his expired.
That's awesome.
He's got $1 million listing.
All right, so there you go.
Picture.
Oh, he's seen it. Maybe that hurt.
All right, cool. Let me turn this off so it's not in our eyes here. Okay, so guys, I just want to ask her a couple of questions. You're going to have questions. Just jot them down, and I'll give you a chance at the end. So tell them, so just give them a brief history of how you ended up in real estate, 5 minutes or less. Tell us how you ended up there.
I was always, since I graduated, pretty much, I was always in sales. And then I became a personal trainer for 7 years. I started running that time and thought, oh, this is great, I can teach people. Became a personal trainer, but then I was traveling around the world all the time. So I thought, oh, I need to get a real job. And I got my license in '03 and became on-site sales. And so that was perfect transition into it.
Did you like on-site sales?
On-site sales, I hate to say this, but it's the easiest job. It's
Yeah.
like selling shoes.
I'd be surprised.
I was in '03, so that was the beginning of the boom.
Yeah.
And so I saw what was about to happen. You know, I saw these people coming and buying stuff on a frenzy, so it's very similar time now.
Yeah.
So I went from on-site sales. As soon as I closed my first big property in Atlantic Station, I wanted to go independent because I had a lot of following already. So I went independent, had an assistant, and survived, kept going through, and here I am. I was ready to quit in '07, '08, and I met Todd Roseberry, who was the team leader in town. And I said, he was a broker, and I was going to get my broker's license. And I said, I don't know. I said, I'm ready to quit. I'm frustrated. I got 20 listings. They're all dropping prices. And he said, well, what do you really want to do? And I said, I want to travel every other month, you know, and play. And he said, well, you can do that. And I'm like, how? And so he taught me about the MRE, and that's kind of been my goal. Kind of like badwater. I tried it and failed and tried it again and succeeded. I've tried with the team a couple times, and right now I'm laying the foundation properly.
Yep.
Knock on wood. So hopefully in the next year or two, I'll see some progress.
Okay, so you tried badwater the first time, you failed. Walk me through your mindset and the training piece moving from 3 years ago to today and completing badwater.
I had been doing a lot of running distance. You know, I picked 50 to 100 mile runs. I probably did about 4 a year or so. But the biggest issue that I had in badwater 3-4 years ago, it was 14. So I overhydrated. You drink too much water. Being out there in the desert, you can't be dehydrated, you can't be overhydrated. I don't know if anyone's heard of hyponatremia, but it's flushing out the electrolytes in your body. And I swelled up. I gained 12 pounds in the first 10 hours. And to the point that I had pulmonary edema. And I went to, my team had a tray of ice for me to just lay down. And as soon as I laid back, I couldn't breathe. So I was like panicking and crying because I didn't know what was wrong. I couldn't breathe. And as soon as I sat up, I was okay. But so they took me to the medical in the race, and they said, you got to sit here until you start flushing it out. And 5 hours later, I couldn't flush any out. I couldn't pee any out. And so it took me, the clock kept ticking. So I said, let me just go. There's a timer. And I said, let me just go back out there and try at least walking, because if I'm not peeing it out, I'll sweat it out. And I start walking, and the doctor was like, absolutely not. We would not advise that, but we can't tell you what to do. And so stubborn me, I started walking out there, and as soon as it started going to my head, I knew that was dangerous with cerebral edema, so I stopped. And so then I just, for the last 3 years, I've been keeping my base, but my biggest thing is I came back to Atlanta. I have a doctor friend, sports doctor at Georgia Tech, and she's been helping me just to make sure my electrolytes, my heart, my kidney, lungs were all okay. And so I've just been testing for the last couple of years of how much water do I need. And, you know, I'll start swelling a little bit even in a 20-mile run. And when I do, I know how to handle it. And so that's...
So you hired a coach?
I did, but I'm more doctors.
Who was your coach?
Yeah. So my team was my doctors, and then I kept testing it out on myself.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Okay. Talk to me about mindset. I mean, I literally struggle to run 2 miles at a time. Tell me what it's like to run 100. You mentioned the 19-mile block that every marathon runner experiences, and that's real. What's it like to run 143 miles, and how has that helped you in the life of your business?
Always setting a goal is my biggest thing. So sometimes, and you've probably heard me say, you could set a goal, you got to watch what you wish for because it's going to happen. And so I had set this a long time ago. And when you have that big goal, you don't mind the little steps along the way of, being sore, waking up and you don't feel like running. Well, you got to run because if you want to hit that goal. And same thing with real estate. That's why I set my goal right now. And I'm just started MAPS and it stresses me out, but I'm doing it because that's a good stress. That's something I need, that push. I can't do it myself. So with the running, the 146 and the heat, you just, when it's in your mind, you just do it. Like I'd go out for the last 2 months when it was 95 degrees out, I'd put a light jacket on and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd go run 6 miles. Well, now you can't get me out there because I don't have a goal like that. I'm not going to go out and run in the middle of the afternoon in the heat.
Interesting.
So it's the long-term vision, I think.
Interesting. So setting the goal actually creates momentum behind it.
Right.
But a big goal, 143 miles, I mean, it's in other words, think bigger. So agent sets a goal, I'm going to cap. I'm not suggesting that that's not a milestone, but why not cap twice in your first year and never look back, cap every year? And then why not make 100,000? Why not make 200? Why not make 500? And it's not about the money, it's the milestone, right?
Right. Well, my first goal, I remember when I signed up for my first marathon, I wouldn't tell anyone because I was so scared. It was like, I told one guy that I was dating, I said, I think I'm going to sign up for a marathon. And so that was pretty much, my 5K was my first goal, my 10K, then a marathon. And I even told friends, I said, if I ever talk about doing a 100-miler, get me help, because I have no friends.
So I'm hearing tons of lessons in this. Get a coach. You also just mentioned accountability. You told someone,
Yeah.
and that was scary.
Yeah.
Which created accountability. Did he help you in that? Did he push you in that?
Yeah, he did. And then focusing on it realistically with daily schedules.
Milestones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do a 5K. I'm going to do a 10K. Then I'm going to do a
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Okay. Let's open it up. Question. What questions do you have? I got a couple more. Venetia.
Did you ever tell anybody your goal and they doubted you or tried to sway you, and how did you handle that?
A good question. There's probably quite a few that doubted me, but I never heard that. I had some that, like my father's words to me the week before, because I was almost don't like telling my family. And my dad, he was like, he said, I wish you just wouldn't do this as much. He says, you're not a teenager anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, Dad. And he tried telling me that a couple years ago. But, I think there was truly a lot of support. And when I looked at my Facebook, it was just incredible. Like, I was like, do I sleep for 40 minutes or do I read my posts? And it was motivating. So I could see that. But, there might be some little bit of jealousy. But I know when I run races, I have great fun competition with people. And sincerely, I can tell who's sincere and who's not. Just like with real estate, because we all want to be number one. So, does that answer?
Yeah. What else? Questions?
What's next? You've had this incredible goal that you've achieved. It's been a long time goal, so
That's
where's
another.
your head now in terms of what's next?
Yeah, that's another good question. I did another big event, probably 2000, and people kept saying, "What's next?" And I said, "One thing I won't do is climb Everest." But I don't know. I mean, my husband, he was the crew chief, and we have such a good time. We're good partners in real estate. We do renovations as well as running, and he tends to be. He's an SC. I'm a DI. He tends to be a great support. But we hope, as I said, I want to travel every other month, and we hope within the next 2 years that we got a couple big events that we want to do. One that we would do together is ride our bikes from Vancouver down to Mexico. So that's one big one. And then next year,
How far is that?
3,000 miles.
And how fast,
There's a lot of hills.
how many days are you gonna do that in?
Oh, that'll take probably a month. That'll take a month. So we,
28,
for
come
our,
on, 28 days,
yeah,
you can do it.
under a month.
Tell her she can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. That'll do it 27. Yeah.
What is your biggest competition, other people or yourself?
Competition.
Do you, or is it even competitive to you? Or, I mean, when you set a goal, do you even look around, look at the competitions? Do you just compete with yourself?
No.
Do you?
I don't look at them as competition. I look at them as motivation. There's always somebody that's way beyond. There's a girl who I actually coached with for a few months. She's done it out and back in one time. So 560 miles. So I admire people like that. Myself is my biggest competition when it's looking at, oh, I can do better. I can do more. You know, if I can do this, then I can do this. And that's kind of like I said earlier, the stepping stones. Just like with real estate, you know, when I first started, I thought 8 million in a year was almost unachievable. And then when you hit that, it's like, okay, let's try 12 million. Let's try this. So myself is competition and motivation.
I'll tell you something, you've got to learn with competition. When you set a big goal like this, and I'm teaching my son this, and I'm guilty of this, I've had to learn this throughout the years. Competition with other people is healthy when it's in perspective of your goal, right? And so there's a healthy piece to that. But the bigger focus is you progressing, you know, not being perfect, but being competitive yourself and answering with all sincerity, am I being my best today, right in that moment? And we all know, I mean, there's days for me, I hope I'm not the only one in the room. There's days for me where I go, man, I didn't give it my best today. You know, I failed in this area, or didn't do this, or I know I could do better. And that motivates me internally. I mean, sure it does. That's
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
does. And when you're not your best, you look at what could I have done better. And so the next day, you know, whether if it's real estate and I didn't get up until, you know, 2 hours normally, what I normally get up, and it's like, okay, back on schedule, or if it's planning the night before.
The mistake I've made in the past, and the mistake I see other people making often, tell me if I'm wrong on this, is not having the evaluation period. And I think at a minimum, evaluating your weekly results internally. Here's my goal. I'm going to run 143 miles. Did I hit those milestones this week? And I wouldn't be successful with that if I didn't have a coach.
With your milestones.
My
to keep you
weekly,
on
my
track.
weekly review.
Yeah.
Here's what I did this week.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do next week. Sometimes it's off, but if I don't evaluate, I could go a month and not know. And at that point, I've developed a ton of bad habits. And it's quick. Bad habits happen quick.
And I do that with running. I'm not a student by no means, but I have all my tracking for the last 20 years of what I've done. So I write down, it might take me 3 days before I write it down. And I can say, and I don't run a lot of mileage compared to a lot of ultra runners, but maybe 40, 50 miles a week. And I'll be, okay, if I didn't hit it this week, because I was busy with real estate or personal, then I can fill it back up next week. And that's where I'm really trying to get better with real estate, is my 411.
I love that question. That's a good question. What else?
Would you run it again, badass? Or what was it called?
Would you run it again, badass? Oh, you were talking about the race.
Yeah.
Badwater.
But you are.
Yes.
You know, I will, at the end of it, I said I would help people, but I don't want to get hooked on doing it all the time. You know, I've been there, done it, and I really want to help people. So I coach occasionally, and so I've got a couple people that have already approached me. So, and I'll be there with
Team.
as their
It's
crew.
a team.
Yeah, the team is critical. I was so fortunate that I had, and I've been crewing a couple years, other people, and I've seen top racers, and we had the best team that I've ever seen. Not being biased, but everybody had their roles, but they all seemed like SCs because they all got along, and one high I. But they rotated, so they took care of themselves while taking care of me. So they would come on 6 hours and rotate, and so some would go back to a hotel and sleep. And if you don't, it's like, you know, I've got a great assistant now, and you know, she's off right now driving to Irma, or to rescue her mother from Irma. It's like, you got to take care of your family, you know, don't worry about me because we'll be back. So yeah, I think team's critical.
Carol.
So I am curious about sleeping. So were you did you, because obviously you didn't run those hours without stopping. Did you sleep on the side of the road? Did you sleep in a hotel? Did you have a campsite? Did you?
Good questions. I, a couple times, I think like 3 times during the heat of the desert, whether it's day or night, I could just feel it hitting me. So I would stop and jump in the car for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes with the AC going. And you can stake out. So if you're at mile 75, you put a stake in the ground, you can drive off, sleep in a hotel, and come back. And one time I did that strategy-wise. I thought, it's 4 o'clock in the day, it's still the hottest part of the day, I'm tired. So I drove 25 minutes, rode 25 minutes to a hotel, slept for 45 minutes, had some breakfast or lunch or whatever. I tried to choke it down and drove back. But right then the sun was coming down, and so it was a good strategy. But I probably ended up sleeping in 53 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. Now it's good.
And how did you get nourishment? How did you eat?
My crew constantly had food, so they work hard. And every mile they're like, what do you want? What do you want? So I had fruit cups, bananas at the beginning, olives. Ensures is the end all, because when you're out there running and it's hot, you do not want to eat. And the more you don't want to eat, usually you have to eat, or you'll just, so that's what the whole focus was on making sure I had enough salts, hydration, and food. And if I had to force it, I had to force it. It took me like half an hour to eat an egg McMuffin. And I was like nauseous every bite, but I ate 3/4 of it. You know, I just knew it was fuel.
I'll say one more.
You said you tried to build a team a couple of times before, and you're redoing it now with, you know, a solid foundation. So what are some things that you learned in the past failures that you're going to implement now? You get the different
With the real estate team, finding the right that really want to win, that want to achieve, is one big thing. Because I've had probably, unfortunately, I've had maybe 8 assistants over the years, and I got really lucky with 3. 2 of them had to move out of state, but the one I have now, Lisa, is awesome, and she totally wants to achieve. We have the same goal, and we want to build the team together. So when I hire people, one thing I always look for is that they have the same ethics and goals. If they want to achieve, let's do it together. And it truly feels like a team right now, even though it's just two of us. But I've had some that they might fit the profile, but they just don't, they just want to clock out at 5 o'clock.
How many, raise your hand if you ever would consider building a team or hiring an assistant? Okay, good. Look around the room. Just look around the room. In front of you in here. Okay. Let me just add something about Sandy that I've noticed that'll help you with that question. You write this down if you plan on building a team. There are 3 things. Your one thing becomes 3 things in this order. Okay, and I know that sounds a little weird, but write this down. Number 1, cast vision. She's excellent at it. She's excellent at it. Hey, I'm going to go run a race. It's 143 miles. It's this race called Badwater. Let me tell you about it. She gets people excited, and they go, man, I want to be a part of that. Right? In casting vision, you're excellent at it. I've learned that about you in the last 6 years. The second thing is you attract talent. And you attract talent based on who you are. I'm telling you, I'm just going to brag on Sandy for a second. Her character is rock solid. She comes from a place of contribution every time you talk to her. It's not about her. It's about vision and attracting talent. Hey, I want to help people do it now. You want to do it again? Yeah. And I want to help other people accomplish that same goal. And then the third piece is develop leaders underneath you.
I learned have people surrounded by you that are better than you. And I learned that in my adventure racing, endurance sports, is because everybody contributes. I used to do like multi-day races, kayaking, running, that's a whole new story, but someone's always better than you at one thing, or they're the strongest. You might be the strongest at one point, you might be the weakest at one point. You may have a mental breakdown and it's like, I don't want to get up and make, 100 calls today. Someone else is your team, you want them to be able to pull you back up and get you lined up and focused. Whether your team is a team that's on your own personal staff, or a Celia, John, Stacy, this is a great team. This office is incredible. I mean, this is why I'm here, is because of John and everyone. Lynn LaCroix.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I told her many times. I don't know if she believes it, but it's, I'm here because of her. So surrounding yourself, whether it's a virtual assistant, all of that, it's just have someone that's better than you. Never try to compete with your team.
I could do this all day.
Yeah.
And I want to be respectful of your time. It's right at 1 o'clock. Would you like to hear parting thoughts real quick? Just another 2 or 3 minutes. Parting thoughts. What did you not say that you want them to hear?
Don't run. You're going to burn your feet. My feet did burn. I had to run on 186 degree pavement. All I say is, I'm nothing different than anyone. I just like to run, and I kept setting goals. And whatever your interest outside is, if you keep pursuing that, you're going to find the benefits that will carry over into your business. Balance is important, but your relationships, it's just setting goals. I mean, there's so much to say.
Well, this is a milestone moment for Sandy, and we've got a little gift from everybody from the office. So, yeah.
Wow, you didn't see anything this colorful in the desert.
So proud of you. By the way, speaking of great team, this was her idea and her doing, so there you go.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, parting thought for me, I want to give you a quote. This will be especially critical to those of you that are either in bold or plan to take bold. This is a quote from Steve Jobs. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. Guys, go do what you love. If you love running, go be the best runner and lead generate around it. But find it. It's there. Just go find it. Y'all are amazing. Thanks for being here. Sandy, where did you go? Okay, perfect. Someone you probably want to talk to her, please do. What time is the next class, Fiona? Is there a night in here? Nothing? Okay.